that number 64 Sonny King Honda Ford has pulled behind the pit wall, and it looks like it's end of the day for Tommy Gale, who started this race in 28th position.
Well, the trucker from the Pittsburgh area, who in each of the last 2 seasons has won over $100,000 here in stock car racing. His best finish, by the way, a year ago was right here at Rockingham, but it's not going to be that way today.
Out on the racetrack, the leader continues to be Bobby Allison. Running in second position is Cale Yarborough, and third place, this battle right here between Neil Bonnet and Richard Petty. Bonnet in the number 75, Petty in number 43. The third car in line there, Bill Elliott, number 9. He is a lap down to the field. So in third position right now, Neil Bonnet. Running in fourth is Richard Petty as they once again go off of the backstretch and into the 25-degree banking in turns 3 and 4.
Bonnet, of course, with a brand new team for him this year. This is the Raymop team that Joe Ruttman drove for last year. You'll recognize the colors if you are a Grand National fan from years gone by. Those, of course, are the very famous colors made famous by the Woods brothers. That's a car now that Warner Hodgson is involved in, and Neil Bonnet has moved to that team this year. It's a kind of a combination of 3 teams from a year ago in loose competition into turn number 1. There you see Bonnet leading Petty right through. Bonnet on that team has been very fast this year. If you had to go look at the 3 races to date, including this one, and pick a car that maybe was the king of speed, it'd either be Yarborough or Bonnet.
And going into turn number 3, Richard Petty moves to the inside of Neil Bonnet and takes over third position, at least momentarily. Richard Petty now moves into third, and Neil Bonnet drops back to fourth. Bill Elliott at number 9 also able to get by Neil Bonnet, but remember, Bill Elliott is a lap down to the field. The leader continues to be Bobby Allison. Running in second position, Cale Yarborough, and third is Richard Petty. Here's a car slowing in turn number 1. That's J.D. McDuffie from Sanford, North Carolina, in the McDuffie Racing Pontiac. J.D. started this race in 30th position and is very slow down the backstretch. And there are pits not only here on the tri-oval in front of us, but also in the backstretch. And JD's pit is in the backstretch, and that's where he pulls his car right now, conferring with a member of his pit crew, J.D. McDuffie, into the pit area early in the Carolina 500.
J.D. figures to be one of the next $1 million career winners on Grand National Racing on its trail. He had won over $900,000 coming into this season. A veteran of this type of racing. He's been around since the mid-1960s, and his best finish, like Tommy Gale's a year ago in 1982, was here at Rockingham when J.D. netted a 10.
There is the interval between the first and second place car. Bobby Allison is the leader. Second place, Cale Yarborough. The distance is about 1 or 2 car lengths. The car there ahead of Bobby Allison continues to be Jeff Bodine, and he is that almost a lap down to the field. There is Bodine and Bobby Allison going down the backstretch. And Terry Labonte in car number 44 also doing well, as he is shown now in 5th position. Terry Labonte.
Well, Labonte has been lopping him off about a car a lap the last 4 or 5 laps. He's been in heavy traffic with Harry Gann, whom you see right behind him. Joe Ruttman right up along the wall on the inside, going around Darrell Waltrip right now. Bouchard is also in that group. There's Bobby Allison trailing Jeff Bodine, as well as Yarborough, and Yarborough has gotten by Allison.
And so a new leader in the race. Cale Yarborough moves in front with Bobby Allison now running second, but neither of those cars able to get by Jeff Bodine in the number 88, a lap down to the field. Bobby Allison is now second to Cale Yarborough, who was looking very good when the rains came last Sunday and the race was halted at 143 laps. There is Cale Yarborough. He, of course, hails from Timmonsville, South Carolina, in the Hardee's Chevrolet.
Well, Yarborough is a veteran driver. What we understand from our spotters is that trio right there was lapping simultaneously Bobby Hillen and Sterling Marlin, 2 of the rookies in Grand National Racing this year. Yarborough found a lane that that Allison didn't see, and Yarborough was able to sneak through. At one point when it came to the tri-oval, Bodine there out in front of that group, as well as Yarborough and Allison, were almost 3 abreast. But Cale Yarborough now back into the position he was when the rains came. No such problem this week. He's the number 1.
Cale, of course, was the winner of the Daytona 500 a few weeks ago at Daytona International Raceway. He does not compete on the entire Winston Cup trail, only on the super speedways. This is his second race of the year. He did not compete in the Richmond 400. So Yarborough, the winner at Daytona, also the leader here in the Carolina 500 at Rockingham. Bobby Allison continues to stalk him in second position as Yarborough has about 3 to 4 car length advantage as the cars come off of turn number 4 onto the tri-oval. We complete 172 laps. 172 laps are completed with Yarborough in the lead and Bobby Allison running second. Stay with ESPN as we present live today the Carolina 500. We're at Rockingham, North Carolina for the Warner Hodgson Carolina 500 where Cale Yarborough is the leader. Let's go to Dick Bergman in the pit area.
And I'm with Butch Mock of Neil Bonnet's group. Butch, what's wrong with the car?
Well, we're just waiting for a caution. Our next time we're going to run 4 new tires. We're running on the tires that we ran last week, and Neil says I feel like they're real hard.
Trouble, trouble, trouble in turn number 4. We have several cars involved in an accident in turns 3 and 4. Joe Ruttman among those involved. And Larry
Bouchard was also. Ruttman, Bouchard, and Gant have been battling tooth and nail with Terry Labonte for quite some time. They had all been running right at the very edge, the very lip of that 2 car length width lane we talked about. Harry Gant coming through the tri-oval back under power on his own. Harry perhaps spinning to miss, although there was a little damage in the right front. But the 4 of them have really been going at it. They have been doing more than jousting. They have been trading paint for quite some time. And finally, it came apart as they entered turn number 3.
And so Harry Gant is able to get back underway and will obviously be pulling into the pits for a stop as we replay what happened up in turns 3 and 4 just a few seconds ago.
Well, there is Bonnet entering the corner, followed by Ruttman. Ruttman losing an engine, apparently. You see smoke coming from underneath Joe's car. Joe getting on oil from the blown engine. We speculate the car going out of control, not driver error. He goes up to the high side, smacks the outside retaining wall, almost getting upside down. Very reminiscent of what happened at Daytona earlier this year. Gant, Labonte, and Bouchard right behind, nowhere to go.
So Joe Ruttman bangs the wall very hard up in turn 3. There is Harry Gant's spinning car, and Harry, as we indicated, able to bring the car back under control and continue to the pit area, and several other cars scramble to avoid the melee. So the caution comes out here at Rockingham, and all the leaders have made pit stops. There is the car of Joe Ruttman as he climbs out of the car, apparently okay. The leader, Cale Yarborough, is exiting the pit area. He's back out on the racetrack. We have run 179 laps at Rockingham. Back in just a moment. And there is Joe Ruttman, who brought out this yellow flag here at Rockingham. The car making heavy contact with the wall up in turn number 3. And again, we replay it as apparently, as Larry indicated, the engine let go because there's a lot of smoke from the underneath of that car. And Joe just simply losing control because of the water and the oil underneath the tires, coming up outside, hitting the wall very hard. The car nearly flipping over, debris falling from it. But luckily, we see Joe walking around and apparently uninjured in that crash.
Bob, one of the crew chiefs that we spoke with this morning about what would the potential pitfalls be for today was Buddy Parrott. And ironically enough, Parrott was one who was most concerned about what might happen to the engines.
Here is Dick Berggren in the pit area with Joe Ruttman.
Joe, what happened to the car out there?
Really, Dick, I'm not really dead sure. Going down the backstretch, it just seemed like the back end 4 3 just started coming around, and you know, at this moment, I'm still not sure what took place. Just seemed like the back end started around, and the first thing I knew, I was heading for the wall. So I'm not sure exactly what took place.
You got way up in the air. Could you feel that?
I'm obviously hanging on extremely tight. I knew I was going to take a ride. There's no question about it. But you just prepare yourself for a tremendous impact because you know it's coming. But what the car does, I'm just hanging on.
You're all right, Joe.
I banged my ankle just a little bit, but other than that, it's just my feelings. It's all hurt.
Upstairs to you.
All right, Joe Ruttman from Newell, North Carolina, a former resident of Upland, California, was the leader of the Winston Cup points going into this race with a 4th and a 7th place finish. It's all over for him today here at Rockingham.